Hey guys, welcome back to Kayfabe TV. Today we've got another Brawl deck for you to try out, this time in the style of a mono black control deck featuring Josu Vess as our commander. Let's have a look. Our commander is Josu Vess, a new card from Dominaria. He's a 4 mana creature that's 2 and 2 black. He's a 4/5. He has a kicker cost of 5 and 1 black. He's got Menace built in, and when he enters the battlefield, if he was kicked, you create 8 2/2 black Zombie Knight creature tokens with Menace. So Josu is a finisher for us, and late game combined with cards like Cabal Stronghold, you're going to be able to generate a huge army regardless of whether or not they get removed, turn after turn after turn after turn. He also happens to have pretty decent stats for the early game as well, so you can put him into play quite early and take advantage of a 4/5 body. It works with a couple of other cards in the deck as well. There's kind of a couple of ways that I saw this deck going. We could either go really hard in on zombies or just make a general sort of control-ish mid-rangey shell. This is that mid-range shell kind of deck, but you can definitely go the zombie route. It's just that Brawl as a format doesn't really have the same support as normal Commander would do. Let's have a look at some of the other creature choices for the deck though. So there aren't many creatures in this deck. We've only got 12 others, not including Josu, in the deck. And as I said, there's a couple of ways that we could have built this. We could have focused on the zombie element. There's a little bit of that in this. But mostly the creatures there are there to either provide card advantage or remove creatures from your opponent or beat face. So starting from the top, we've got Deadeye Tracker, Dusk Legion Zealot, Glint Sleeve Siphoner. These are small bodies. They're going to get into play fairly early. They're going to provide you with some card advantage early on. We've got a few beaters in the form of Knight of Malice, Gifted Aetherborn, and Dreadshade. These guys will kind of fulfill the role of some mid-game play, early game play as well. Dreadshade can get absolutely massive by the end of the game. We've got a bit of utility in the form of Gonti, Twilight Prophet, and Ravenous Chupacabra. Gonti, great utility card. Really depends wildly on what your opponents are playing. Twilight Prophet, going to get you some card advantage. Same with Ravenous Chupacabra. Noxious Scarehulk and Tetsamok are there to remove creatures, especially ones that are going to be giving you trouble. Tetsamok can really decimate the entire board if you've got enough mana, and this deck does play a pretty consistent long game. So can be well worth ticking up those prey counters on Tetsamok. And then we've got Demon Lord Belzenlock as well. So big DB, he's in there, fill our hand back up, potentially, you're always going to get a card out of him. You could always, the testing that I've done, it's not uncommon to get a couple, maybe even 3 cards. It's a really decent value for a 6 mana creature, especially one that can finish a game for you. It's a 6/6 Flying Trample. This guy will win games for us. We're playing just 2 Planeswalkers in this deck. We've got Khan, who I've talked about in my Teferi video. This guy is card advantage. He's just a great card. He's colorless mana to cast. Yeah, gives the deck that added boost of being able to generate some decent card advantage, draw some cards, potentially lay some blockers down as well. He's just a great card all around. We've got Liliana as well. So this is a little bit of a stab at the zombie theme. We don't have that many targets that will take advantage of her reanimation, but she's a fairly good mid to late game play. She can resurrect your guys later on. She can also destroy all non-zombie creatures. So if we have managed to play a big Josu and his army, she'll support that fairly well. Our instants and sorceries, mainly there for removal. There's a little bit of card draw as well. We've got things you'd expect to see in a black standard deck. Fatal Push, Cast Down, Moment of Craving. We've got Walk the Plank, Essence Extraction, Painful Lesson for a little bit of card draw. Got Dark Bargain, which I'm a big fan of. I think this is quite an underrated common card. Gives you pick of the top 3 cards of your library at instant speed. This is a pretty decent card. We've got Vraska's Contempt, Yahane's Expertise. We've got a Vile Offering in there as well from the big Yawgmoth, and a Drain Life in the form of Battle at the Bridge too. So most of our instants and sorceries are there to clear the board and draw us cards. Playing 6 enchantments in this deck. And it was difficult because there was a few things I wanted to include, and there's a couple of cards here that I'm just not sure about yet. I need to do a little bit more testing on. We've got Argyll's Bloodfast, which is there for a card draw. I'm not necessarily relying on this flipping, so I haven't really shown you the other face of the card. Don't really have to worry about it too much. This is more about gaining us some life. You do start with 30 life in Brawl. This means that you're paying a lot less for this as a resource to draw a card, it's great. Got Trial of Ambition, some removal there. We've got Phyrexian Sculptures, which is one of my favourite cards from Dominaria. This is an unusual card. It's quite difficult to evaluate on paper, but in my testing, it's pretty solid. If you've got even just 1 creature out, 2 maybe, you can pick the best of yours and decimate everything else the following turn. It also happens to exile all cards from your opponent's graveyards, not yours. So you get a good way of sweeping the board, get a little bit of pump for a creature, and you get to exercise some graveyard hate too. We've got Revel in Riches, which will support a late game Josu. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you get a treasure, which is great. It's going to build up a lot of potential mana for you in the late game. Eldest Reborn, trying this card out. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but we'll give it a go. This will also put a Planeswalker or a creature into play once it's ticked over to the 3rd chapter. And we've got a little bit of support for Josu late game, and some blockers provided from Liliana's Mastery. I really thought about going deep with zombies, but this is probably about as deep as it's going to get for this deck, I think. So we're only playing 3 artifacts in this deck, and I've talked about them before in my Teferi Brawl video. The artifacts here are there to provide some card advantage for you. Each of these transform into their land modes, but mainly we're focusing on the amount of draw that we're going to be able to generate from these cards. The exception might be Azel's Gateway. You've got the potential to flip this into Sanctum, which will provide you with a huge mana boost, especially in the late game. That means we're going to get to be able to play our Josu and kick it more consistently. So there's a consideration to really aim at flipping Gateway quite early. You can also use it to do really silly things like a massive Battle at the Bridge, or draw a whole bunch of cards with Argyll's Bloodfast. So there's a little bit of utility there as well. So we're playing 25 lands in this deck. We've got some pretty standard stuff here that you'd expect to see in a mono black deck. We've got Arch for card draw, Ifnir Deadlands for creature removal. We've also got Memorial to Folly. This is an interesting card. I've mainly included it so that you can get back your Tetzimok and continue to reuse it if it does happen to go into the graveyard. But it's also quite valuable if you have incurred a bit of tax on playing your Josu multiple times in the early game. You can let Josu go to the graveyard, not back to the commander zone, and then use Folly to return him back to your hand, which means that you avoid the tax that you'd pay on him, and you can kick him again and get a decent army back. So it's a pretty good inclusion, I think. Cabal Stronghold, well, this can get massive. The longer the game goes, the better this card's going to get. And then we have Swamps, of course. So there's 21 Swamps, 4 other non-basic lands in this deck. So there's definitely the option with this deck to go all in on a zombie theme. I think that there's a little bit of a lack for support. Maybe once the core set in the middle of the year is released, we'll have a little bit more support for the zombie archetype in Standard. At the moment I think that this deck was better placed as kind of a mono-black control sort of mid-range build. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I'm really happy that you've tuned in for this one. If you'd like to leave any comments or questions about the deck, please do so in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more gaming content, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks a lot.